with that being said, John and Eric and Marlon on the show covered this video. That was, just to give you the background on this, Patrick Gordon, who's a lieutenant in the New York City Police Department, is the head of the Guardians Association. The Guardians Association, just another background on that, the original president was Eric Sanders, who we've had on the show, who did do a lot in his time as the president to back officers. He wasn't a rabble rouser, but boy, have the Guardians taking a nosedive since those days. So Patrick Gordon is a lieutenant, and here he is talking to, now this is the mayor. This is Eric Adams, okay? Just listen to what this rhetoric is and what he's talking about.
Terms that I receive a lot is a lot of black members of the NYPD says that it feels like black and browns are under attack right now in the agency, right? Mm-hmm. And I know we had some issues that happened a couple of months ago, but we know the agency is 180 years old, and this is not the first time they've seen something unfortunate. But it seems like the response, and this is not my words, this is in words of over 2,000 paid members. They said it seems like that the response is that all blacks and all browns are, we're all, it's not in to be black or brown, right? And some of the things that they use that's being used is some of the demotion of black executives. We had Tariq Shepard, we had Paul Gamble, we had some Latinos that was out, so we had Miguel Iglesias. So now I receive increased pressure, like, hey, what are you doing? What is the Guardians doing? Because it's just a feeling. It may be for a number of reasons, and they may not know the reasons. There might be things behind the scenes that we don't know, but the appearance is that. The second concern that I'm receiving highly is it appears that everything is a tie now. Someone brought to my attention every promotion that we've had since January has had somebody with the last name Maker Chief, right? And we've only had maybe 1-2 blacks make it, but it's a whole bunch of ties walking across the stage. And they point out the chief of the department is a tie, the XO of the department is a tie, the CEO of the office is tied, personnel people. So they're like, well, we see one group running things, and this is the way it looks. And again, it's many things that I don't know, right? So, this is what I want to put on you. And I know you run a big city, like the police department is just one portion of what you're responsible for. And so we just wanted to put out there that these are concerns, and maybe you can help us. We can have some conversations because there might be things that people are not paying attention to. Right? So maybe we put on our radar. No, thank you.
So you've heard that, and it's very disturbing because what do we see? We're hearing him talk about race-based promotions, obviously, and all of that. But here's the most important thing, because this is just fresh off the table here. Patrick Gordon has been transferred. He went from his rapid response unit, the chief of department, to the liaison unit. So I guess the promotions and transfers don't happen. I mean, he's getting transferred. He's getting what we like to say, quote unquote, hooked up, And Patrick Donahue says, take a deep dive into how Patrick Gordon became president of the Guardians Association. There was such turmoil that the original Guardians annual dinner dance was canceled, postponed. Yeah, this guy I'm going to tell you this. That was an openly racist tirade, and he's talking to an advert racist, and Eric Adams, who thinks people are crackers, Caucasian officers. So
every day in the police department, I kicked those crackers' ass, man. I was unbelievable in the police department when you keep one of the black law enforcement.
I just want to point this out that's now when you start mentioning vowels, people that have O's getting promoted. There was a recent promotion. I think there were 2 Italians on there, right? And then he's making reference to, I guess black and brown people he wants to not even think about his pal, Jeffrey Madry, and what happened in that entire scandal. And he's just going to make reference to, why are these people getting promoted? You get promoted on merit. I mean, I thought that's what Jessica Tisch does as the police commissioner. And by the way, why is he crying to Eric Adams and not Jessica Tisch? And it should show you that this video, the source of this video, where the original source is, looks like it's someone that's actually close to Mr. Gordon. It just shows how they really feel about this man. And I don't know how else to say other than that is an openly racist tirade. no matter how you feel about this guy, if you talk about promotions, you should be mentioning promotions. Well, somebody was 5 years as a detective and has not been promoted yet. Meanwhile, somebody with 6 months on hangs out at Conso Frito and gets grade. Not even third, he gets first grade. He gets 10 promotions up, kind of like Kaz Dodry, a Rockefeller promotion, as Eric Dim says. But not, oh, well, we don't have enough. What's this we? What is he talking about? Because, again, that's racist. And a while back, the Guardians wrote something stupid about John and Eric, about making memes. And it's really, they made memes off of what Eric Adams himself says, which he called himself the chocolate administration. And he was just outlandish. And they sent all these, I guess they sent people after John and Eric online. It was like 24 hours because they were buddying up the people that were involved in sexual harassment and assault cases like Kaz Dodry, John Schell. The list could go on and on and on. Jeffrey Madry, his mentor, we can't even mention sexual harassment because there's the kingpin of it. So, just take what he says as a grain of salt, but it just shows you. And by the way, the Italian American Civil Rights League is about to chime in on that because many Italian Americans are very disgusted with that rhetoric, and that someone who's that high up or is in charge of some association would even dare to talk like that, whether it's public or in private where you're lobbying the mayor. It's not our problem that people around you don't like you or trust you, Mr. Gordon. And really, you should just, I don't know, you need to take some classes or something. You got some deep-rooted racist overtones about you. Just to flip this, if the script was flipped, and it was a Caucasian mayor and a Caucasian lieutenant talking about their association, and they're mentioning how, oh, well, we don't have enough of our people getting promoted, and sounding like him on the reverse flip of it, where he's saying that, Caucasian people aren't getting promoted and just black and brown need to be held down or whatever, you would see riots in the street. So why is it being ignored now? Patrick Gordon's a disgrace. And I don't know why he's not suspended right now for those openly racist remarks. And I hope that transfer the transfer should be to like Siberia and the NYPD. That would pretty much teach someone that you don't say stupid things like that when promotions are merit-based. But with that being said, I'm going to bring on my guest. I'm sure he just saw that and said, what the hell? But without any further ado, he's a former FBI agent. He's also part of the Suspendables, and that's my good friend, Kyle Seraphin.
How you doing, buddy?
Kyle, welcome to the Sal Greco Show. I've been wanting you on the show for a long time. I don't know if you have anything to say about what you just saw, but that is just like open racism right in front of you. And they want race-based promotions, which is not. And the Guardians was not built on that, Kyle. I know the original president was Eric Sanders, who did a lot, but then realized that he was up against Eric Adams coming after him and stuff, like going back and forth, rabble-rousing. So that whole thing has become what you see today. It's really a discredited association because of the leadership, like that clown.
Well, it goes to the conversation you and I were having before we went live, which is really straightforward. There are two things that drive organizations, that drive your operational principles. You have to have a task, what you want to go do, your mission, and then there's a purpose. That's the why. So why were you founded? What are you trying to do? And when you get away from the roots and you disconnect task and purpose, I used to hear people in the federal government say this. This is true at every level. It doesn't matter whether it's state or federal or local. It's really simple. If your fraternal organizations are no longer about promoting the values and trying to improve the work conditions or to benefit the individual who is doing the mission, if that's not the why that they exist, then they no longer are serving any interest. They are divorcing task and purpose. We used to have people, I had a guy tell me this, what is it, New Jersey, where you can't pump your own gas? Is that right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, New Jersey.
So look, I like my in-laws. My father-in-law used to live in Brooklyn, so we drive up there from the DC area. My other in-laws, they live up in Connecticut, so we'd spend time driving through New York. They used to have a place in New York as well, and so it's like you drive in there and you're going through on the turnpike. You pull off to go get some gas, and you're from America where you're used to pumping your own gas. And some dude comes up and you're like, "Hey, get the hell away from my car! Like, what are you doing?" And he's like, "No, I have to pump it." And you're like, "Why?" And so they tell you, like, well, because this is state law. And they have the same thing, I think, in Oregon as well. There's a couple states where this is required. And so I asked the guy, I'm sitting there and like, I'm irritated already that somebody else is touching my car, which, by the way, you used to have to pay extra for. Like, I grew up in a time when there was self-serve and full serve, right? Like, that was a thing. And so if you wanted to pay a little bit less and you didn't want someone to like clean your windshield like a homeless bum, and you didn't want someone to like fill your gas tank for you, whatever else, take the money in, like, you used to be able to have that choice. And so I asked the guy, I'm like, dude, why are you pumping my gas? Like, what is that about? And he's like, people need jobs. That was his statement to me. People need jobs. And so when your whole purpose is that you need to exist because you need to exist for your own sake, and you don't serve a mission that's broader, it doesn't matter whether you're talking about police officers that are actually doing the job and then administrators who are screwing up the job. You're talking about federal agents where you got management structures that are disconnected from the mission set, whether you're talking about teachers where they bloat the administration and you've got the assistant deputy, principal for academic diversity instead of having like people that are actually teaching, right? When you get down to the mission set of what a benevolent association is designed to do, it's supposed to further the mission. They shouldn't be fighting against things like fitness standards, but they do.
Yep, they do.
Right? You see all of these organizations across the country, and it's not just New York, it's nationwide, that police unions, public sector unions, they constantly fight against the things that are actually necessary for the job. Like, you're a fit guy. I generally am a pretty fit guy. I know how to shoot. I know how to handle myself physically. Do you want people who are less fit, less capable of holding up to rigorous standards to be holding the same job as you, getting paid the same, and maybe backing you up in a life or death scenario?
I want the fit guy. Trust me.
You don't want the fat guy running up on there and getting you killed. You want somebody that's able to fight, that looks at themselves and says, my professional demands that I have a minimum core competency, and it should be at least enough to do the job, as opposed to having people argue against that. And by the way, when they do that, they're also arguing against the public good. It's so simple. Yeah, you hold the mirror up and you know it's wrong. You can't go out and talk about ethnic groups except when you can, except when they're protected. And like, I thought that's what Americans were kind of voting for. They were like, hey, we're over this crap. Because when you and I grew up, a lot of the race-based nonsense was mostly gone. Everywhere that I knew about, in any sort of like play, there were some vestiges of it down in some places, but you outside of the deep South, West Coast, East Coast, a lot of the so-called cosmopolitan 80s and 90s, go look at television from that era. Yeah, it was all but gone until everybody focused on it. I feel like a lot of that came from like 2009, Barack Obama moving forward. They reinjected garbage back into the poison into American civilization. So now we're talking about race again, when I felt like in my lifetime we were almost over it.
Yeah. I don't listen. It's always going to be an issue because you can never root everything out 100%, even crime. But as far as a major issue, we're like well beyond this now. And yet when you have people like Patrick Gordon, who I don't know, Pat Donahue says in here, did he complain to the DEI office in the NYPD? They should have a DEI office at this point, because you see something like that. I mean, he's someone, again, he's not that he's prominent on the job in his rank because he's only a lieutenant. He represents the Guardians, which is, listen, Eric Adams was a member. Tim Pearson's a member. Bill Banks is a member. All these people. And, he's talking about Miguel Iglesias, a guy who hung out at that restaurant with a known mob associate and self-admitted criminal, along with all this internal affair problem they had. And he's talking about, oh, well, they're no longer here. They're not there because they're corrupt. They're there because of what happened, not because they're getting skipped over or some crazy whatever he's trying to make an allegation of. It's just crazy that he's even talking that way. And by the way, Eric Adams did not correct him. He didn't say, oh, excuse me, we don't do this in the police department or in my New York City. And why was he even complaining to him?